Welcome back. I'm top music attorney, Miss Krystle. We have a great Tuesday show for you. This is the Top Music Attorney podcast where we're helping you to learn how to master the music business and stay legally protected every Tuesday and Friday at 7 p.m. PST, and that's 10 p.m. EST. So, as always, this is live, and so we are answering your questions in the chat. So, we are broadcasting, as always, right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. But all of your comments and questions are being fed through the chat to me right here so I can see them. And, I go live for the purpose of giving you guys an opportunity to bring your questions in. As you know, I have a law office. I'm a real life entertainment attorney, and I'm definitely at capacity with clients right now. So this is the place where I can answer your questions for free. So tell your friends. This is what we're doing. Hello, I see everyone filing in right now. So as you guys are filing in, we have a number of things we like to go through in the beginning just to catch up. So, since this is the Tuesday show, we have the weekend recap. Of course, we had Father's Day. I posted a little shout out to that Orko who will be on the show later on. A little shout out for, Father's Day. And I'm like, as a cat daddy, as there are many cat daddies out there, we need to show you all love and appreciation. And to all the other fathers, much love. It's kind of a complicated holiday, I find, for, a lot of my friends, right? So, some people don't either have fathers anymore or they have strained relationships. So it's kind of mixed emotions for a lot of people. But in any case, I hope that you guys had not only a very good weekend, but a great Father's Day. Hello, Andrew has 2 cats, or Kitty, Puppy, and Jackson. Hello. David, been looking forward to this all afternoon. David, big smile. Thank you very much for the support. You know what? I mean, one day maybe we'll show you guys like a behind the scenes of what we do. We don't come in here and just like hit live. We actually prep probably no less than 3 hours for each show because, we are not only going over stories and trying to make sure we're hitting what's totally new, stuff that's breaking today, but then, the segment that I do to help teach you guys how to stay legally protected, I prepare that. So it's definitely a whole thing. So David, I appreciate the comment. It's very, very kind. Let's see here. All right, so what kind of tea do we have? We have, of course, my new favorite mug, Top Music Attorney. And we're drinking peppermint tea with coconut oil. Coconut oil is fantastic for the brain, cognitive function. We're always trying to be better. Good evening, Dan. Dan, this is the first time watching. So glad you could be here. We are live twice a week, and this is where we have a hangout. We're talking about the newsy things. And again, I'm teaching you guys how to stay legally protected. You need that mug. I have a second one that Orko made, and it has that Orko and me on it. I showed you guys it that one time. So that's actually at my real law office. And so, I don't know. I just like it. It's cute. Yeah, so I forced that Orko to try the tea. I'm like, you have to try this with the coconut oil. And he was very reluctant. He's like, that just sounds really disgusting. And so he did try it. And his feedback was that he's like, it's very slimy. After you're done drinking, it just feels very slimy. So I don't know what it is. Try it. I remember, watching a video and someone's like, in your coffee, just add the coconut oil and it's great for your brain function. It gives you energy first thing in the morning. And I haven't had coffee in like over 220 days, I think, at this point. And so I've added it to my caffeine-free tea, and it kind of does a trick. I gotta be honest, especially in the morning. It gives you that little bit of an energy kick. So a little hack for you guys who have a hard time waking up and you're trying to stay away from extra caffeine. And also, reminder, I know we have a lot of artists that watch this either on the actual live stream or after the facts, but in the coming shows, the coming weeks, we will be doing live on-air artist reviews, which I'm kind of excited about. So, I have obviously consultations that I do with my artists, and so I'm talking them through issues in branding and how do we kind of deal with different situations. But what I kind of do as an entertainment attorney goes beyond that, right? So I am a performer, an artist myself, and I kind of have my own stuff that I do, which I can bring into what I talk about with my artists. And plus that Orko being a music producer, we figured it'd be a fun opportunity to help you guys in a real kind of way. we'll have an actual conversation and review your music and review your socials, and we'll see how that goes. Yeah, you know what? We always say we're like, oh, people in other countries have the best accents, and apparently, in other countries they like our accent. I'll take it. Thank you very much. Josh is new. Nice to see you as well on the live stream. Appreciate you being here. So, in my segment, and I'm still trying to figure out how exactly I'm going to do this, but my segment of something new that I'm trying, and this is how it's going. I think last week I called it something I'm trying this week to be superhuman. That's the purpose of what I'm doing, and because it's such like a side, career of mine of trying things to figure out how to biohack, how to become superhuman from, cognitive power to physical power to all this stuff. And it's just something that I like to do. So I want to share it with you guys. And the way I'm going to do it this week is to tell you what I'm doing. And then on our Friday show, I'll give you the update. Now, at this point, I'm already in it a day or two, but the last kind of update we did was I'm sugar free. And I actually think I'm coming up on week 4 now. Where's the applause button? That Orko. Yay! Let's get that for the next show. Yeah, so I need a little yay. But 4 weeks and I feel like something's happening. They're like, you don't withdraw from sugar. That's not a thing. I guess you just kind of burn it off the more that you're not having carbs. I feel like I've been going through a withdrawal for like a month. But you're supposed to become superhuman, and there's all kinds of benefits that we talked about. But anyway, that was the last one. We're still on that, but we're going to add in a new one now. And so the new thing that I'm going to try this week is this concept that I've heard from a bunch of different really successful people, right? So these are, people who have just got life figured out, sort of, right? The Tony Robbins of the world. And I've heard this similar kind of narrative of, as people, we just have a tendency to not operate at our highest capacity, and we settle for so much less than what we're capable of every day. And so to the extent that we're all operating at less than 50% from how we work to how we show up, for our friends, for our family, at our workouts, and we're not even really aware of it. And so I'm like, all right, so this week we're going to let's do 5%. We're going to push 5% harder on everything. And the goal is to embrace discomfort, because the whole thing is that people don't push, and we don't push because it's uncomfortable. We don't want to. It doesn't feel good, right? To go that extra mile, to get up that extra hour, those extra 2 hours earlier in the day, right? Or to do more at the gym. And so I've been kind of thinking about, my own life, and I have things that I'm comfortable in, and I go, let's push a little bit. So the goal is 5%. And so by way of example, today I did go to the gym. That's kind of part of my ritual. Before doing my shows, I like to go to the gym and just kind of reset, you know what I'm saying? And so I went to the gym, and I have like my goal of my leg press. That's like my thing. That's my machine. And I've been slowly working up on the leg press machine. And so my top, burnout set is at 260. And so today I pushed that 5% and I got to 280. And I was kind of like, I was feeling kind of hulkish. Now I'm like, whoo, I was even feeling kind of shitty earlier today. I was low energy, and all of a sudden I just woke up. I was doing good. And I was going to push that 300, but I'm like, I don't need to like break my leg before I come in and, have to cancel the show or something. So we stopped at 280. I'm very proud of myself. That's my 5%. So for the remainder of the week, keep this in the back of your minds. And let's talk about it on Friday. If you want to try this with me, see in what ways you can push just a little bit more, from maybe just getting up 15 minutes, 30 minutes earlier in the morning, doing some stretching, doing some journaling, whatever that looks like for you. Anytime you feel resistance on something, push through. And let's see what happens. So that's my thing. All right, let's go back. Hi, Vicky. Why is your skin great? You know what? I appreciate that. I have all kinds of lights and other things happening, but that help us all out. Hello from Maine. Michael, thank you for checking in. Appreciate you being here. Terrell, I'm trying to cut sugar out of my system. They say, oh, it's just a couple of days. Just go super hard, right? No, it's not just sugar, not just added sugars, but like no rice, no starches, no potatoes, right? So nothing that converts into sugar as well. Which this is the second time I've done it, and I'm doing good. I've gone way further than I did previously. So And I'll say one thing, my workout recovery is so much better since I've gone off of sugar. And someone had said this in an interview, and he had suggested that maybe sugar causes inflammation in the body, and and therefore your recovery from workout and how you feel overall is going to be so much better. So that's something that I've seen a little bit. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, so Andrew, Paul McCartney, you just allowed me to kind of tease this already. So at the very end of the live stream, or at least the last show, we teased and actually played one of my music videos. Okay, this is new. We usually don't do this. And it was, yeah, not Paul McCartney, but Brian Wilson. So Brian Wilson turned 80 years old yesterday, and on behalf of course, Beach Boys, I did a cover song, and I covered God Only Knows. And so that's actually the music video we're going to play at the end of this live stream. So make sure you stick around for that. What's going on with her? Yep. So you guys, as you know, we have our new segment, which we're going to bring in that Orko. So we do have a lawsuit that the songwriter and musical artist H.E.R has filed against her her record label, and it's kind of an interesting complaint. And so, as always, we're going to get into the legal commentary and me explaining to you guys how this all works. Okay, so make sure you keep on dropping those comments in the chat, but I think that's probably as far as being human and living life and doing that kind of thing. That's what we're leaving for today. But we will check in again on Friday with all the updates, so make sure you have yours as well. And with that being said, let's get into the show. Hi guys, I'm top music attorney Miss Krystle. I'm an entertainment attorney, public speaker, and creator of the Top Music Attorney School for artists and record labels. I'm the owner of Dukes Up Records, and most importantly, I'm an independent artist. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on those bell notifications so you don't miss my weekly videos giving you my best tips on the music business, industry news updates, and teaching you how to stay legally protected. Let's go. All right. In today's artist tip portion of this live stream, I'm going to be teaching you how to fire your manager. Now, the beautiful thing about for those of you who are watching right now or watching a little bit later is that this is specific to, personal managers, business managers, any kind of managers, but it really does extend to anyone that you are in a business relationship with that you need to fire. Okay. So, being a real entertainment attorney, this is literally the conversation that I have with clients. And this is a very, very common question that I get, right? So, especially with these kind of hot topics that we get hired for, I want to obviously provide an avenue so that you guys can understand the process, understand how to kind of protect yourselves and how to get out of it and what steps to take. So the first piece of this, and we're always going to have this conversation of, is there a contract with the manager? I find usually there is a contract. Managers have a tendency to want to protect themselves, which is, fair. We want to have something in writing. So, as far as, is there an agreement? And then, if not, that's where we start. Okay. So if there's no contract, then I'll say, well, what was kind of the understanding as far as how long is the manager going to represent you for? Let's just start there. And the artist might say, well, the agreement had been, the manager was going to represent me for a year. It's been longer than a year. We're like in year 2. So honestly, I don't really know where things are. That's fair. So then the next question is, we're going to talk about termination, right? And how to actually sever that relationship. And we're going to talk about it as it relates to providing formal notice, which is the last piece of this process. But if there's no contract, then arguably we look at what was the verbal agreement between the parties. And then if we're kind of in, almost like when your lease expires and you end up going month to month, right? Because now you don't have a set term. That's kind of how it works with the relationship, right? It's just kind of ongoing until someone decides to terminate, at which point you're going to provide formal notice, and I'll walk you through that. All right. So that's situation number 1. Situation number 2 is when you do have a management agreement. Okay. So you actually do have something in writing with that person. And, I'll talk about kind of the main issues that I see come up. And I think this would be helpful for those of you watching, because This is very common, and this might be your situation. All right. So the first kind of common issue that we run into has to do with the length of the agreement. And so, a common management agreement is between maybe 1 and 3 years. I have seen management agreements that were for like 5+ years, which is to me a little bit ridiculous, way overbroad. And if I'm representing the artist on these management agreements, I'll say no more than 1 year. Anything more than a year is something that's going to make me nervous, because what if it doesn't work out with this manager, right? What if just personalities don't vibe? Or even worse than that, the manager ends up being really bad at his or her job, right? And they lose you deals, or, they lose you relationships. Because here's the thing, guys, when it comes to management, management is supposed to be the liaison, right? The person between you and some kind of gig or opportunity or collaboration or sponsorship. They're the ones kind of handling negotiations on your behalf. So, so going back to kind of the first thing of when we're looking at the term, right? When does the contract naturally expire? So if the contract, for example, we're in month 8 and the contract is only for 1 year, obviously I'll have the conversation with the artist and say, obviously, one of the options that you have at this point is just to wait till natural expiration. And then once we get to natural expiration, we will send notice of termination. Again, that last piece we'll be talking about in the segment. So then moving on, we look at what are the services that the manager promised to provide. So and you know what? Actually, sorry, I got a little off in my notes. I just want to say really fast. Thank you very much. Here, where's my Ripley? There we go. Thank you very much for the super chat. As always, guys, anything that is donated, it's very, very generous. Appreciate it so much. And we'll be buying Ripley some treats. I recorded a cute video of her today, which I'll also be sharing with you guys. Okay. So as it relates to what did the manager promise to do? Now, oftentimes the management agreement will just say things like, manager agrees to provide great mentorship, right? To review and approve, artists' publicity, to sign deals, to review contracts, right? So it's a pretty long list of all the things that the manager is entitled to do, which is listed under the management services, okay? But it doesn't usually actually say that the manager is going to do X, Y, and Z. I will get you these number of collaborations, sponsorships, income. It's never going to say something like that. It's very, very loosey-goosey with the language, which it kind of needs to be, because obviously a manager can't guarantee what's going to happen. They don't know. But that's where part of the problem comes into play. Because when I have someone contacting me for help about a management issue, we're usually looking at how do we terminate the agreement, get out of it, fire the manager, and be done with it. So if my question is going to be, well, has the manager complied? Did the manager provide these services? Now, in some extreme situations, let me tell you, I've had, situations where the manager goes MIA for 6 months. In my mind, and my legal argument to that is that there's been a breach of contract because the manager didn't do shit for 6 months. If the manager is intended to be like a personal manager, a day-to-day manager, that means there needs to be regular ongoing communication. So if there has been a very large gap in communication and the representation, that may be a basis to terminate. That's a good thing, okay? And then we're also going to look in the contract as it relates to expenses and loans. All right, so I had one situation where, the artist was a little nervous because the artist wanted to fire the manager, just very concerned about the manager not doing what had been discussed. But the manager had paid for a lot of stuff for this artist. Now, there might be different, scenarios where maybe, the manager gets into it because the manager has a crush on the artist, right? So it's kind of paying for this and paying for that. And the artist is just like, oh, cool. Thank you so much. That's great. I appreciate your support. Or even just someone who just cares, right? Maybe the manager's your mom. So even though there's that familial relationship, nonetheless, it's still a business relationship. So in any case, the artist's question was, so if I terminate the relationship, is the manager going to now be able to sue me and say, hey, I want to get reimbursed for all of those expenses? So we have a conversation about that, because likely, at least in that scenario, the answer is no, right? So if someone has kind of gifted you things without an expectation or an agreement that they're going to get paid back, then they can't come back later and say, oh, it was actually a loan. But you got to be careful, because they might come back later and say, no, it was a loan and you agreed you're going to reimburse those amounts. So that's another part of the disputes that I often do see come up. And then conflicts of interest. Let's talk about this for a sec. Okay. The manager, and in all of these management agreements, does not work for you exclusively. Now, while, obviously you can be like, oh, that makes sense. That's intuitive, right? There's managers who manage a bunch of artists. When this comes up is when, again, that manager is kind of going MIA, or that manager isn't really doing anything. That is a huge basis of why people call my office and they go, I'm giving this manager XYZ percentage of my income, and this manager isn't doing shit. This manager is not getting me my bookings. I'm getting my bookings. I'm having the calls and I'm setting this up and that up and getting my sponsorship deals. And that was actually the basis of why I fired my last manager, which I'll talk to you guys about in just a minute. But, it's a common complaint, right? Especially for independent artists who are hustling, who are doing a lot of work. And then the manager's just kind of sitting back and collecting revenues. Okay. So keep in mind that the manager is not required to work exclusively for you. However, it might be a basis to allege a material breach if the manager is, again, either going MIA or is kind of overly distracted with other projects. And we call that there's like a material interference with the manager being the day-to-day manager. I had this happen. I've been doing this a while, guys. We've had a lot of situations, but I had this happen where the manager was representing a house of creators, right? So I'm sure you guys have heard these. So there's a bunch of, and in this case, there's a bunch of kids kind of living together, making content, and the manager represented a lot of, the kids in the house. And my client basically was just kind of getting shelved, right? And the manager was focusing on the more successful creators. So again, that goes back to, is the manager kind of going MIA, not doing the day-to-day management? In which case, that might be a material breach. All right. And then beware of the sunset clause. Ouch, when this is missed. Okay. So, if you bring the contract to my office, I'm reviewing it, and there's language that says after we terminate the contract, the manager gets to continue receiving revenues for a period of time. I've seen it where the manager's like, hey, I represented you for 6 months. I'm going to collect 20% for the next 6 years. Okay. We're going to go and have a little fight about that being completely unreasonable, of course. But if the artist agreed to it and signed it in the contract, then that's not good. And so that's a bad fact for us. So before you sign the contract, obviously, that's why I'm kind of pointing out some of these things so you guys can keep this in mind. Even if you have a situation right now, you're probably going to work with another manager. And when you work with that manager, now you got some pro tips and you'll be able to think more like an attorney. All right, let's go back to the comments really fast. There we go. Love it. All right, we have new friends filing in. Thank you for being here. CJ says, no matter the personal relationship, you got to understand that business relationships are completely separate and different. Yeah, that's a great point. To the extent that you have mom representing you as a manager, at some point that has to be very clearly designated as a business relationship, because people get so comfortable when it's your mom, when it's a sister, another family member. We get very, very comfortable. And so lines are crossed, right? And that can create problems. And people get lazy. All right. So David on YouTube, why you fired your manager? Ooh, we're going to get into that. All right. We're going to get to that. So then going back to now the last piece of this. So we got to fire them one way or another. That was the point of this video. We have to send written notice. Always send written notice, guys. Meaning if you're going to fire them, make sure you put together like a letter would be the best, case possible. An email sometimes will suffice, but look at the contract. If you do have a contract, it usually says in the contract you have to provide notice this way, which is usually via physical mail. They might require a copy be sent via email. There might be certain postage requirements. Just make sure you actually read the contract, because you don't want to give the manager an argument that you didn't comply. And so therefore termination is not effective, right? And then 6 months later, the manager's like, hey, by the way, your termination was not effective and you owe me what obviously my percentage was for that time. Because in a lot of contracts, they automatically renew if you don't terminate them. So another pro tip, calendar the termination date. So if it's like 1 year, from today's date, put it on your calendar with reminders with like 3 months ahead of time. Hey, reminder, it's coming up. Hey, reminder, it's coming up, because you will forget. So when it comes to a termination notice, the absolute best way is have a letter and have an attorney sign it and do it for you, right? Write it, sign it, send it on your behalf. And it sometimes can help to avoid some issues because now they know you're actually represented by a real attorney, right? Because, a lot of managers might want to push back. If they see you as profitable, be like, no, you can't terminate for this reason. And if you have a real attorney who understands what the contract says, how it works, then, they're not going to be so startled by, baseless arguments, which is often what happens. All right. So when it comes to kind of my personal story with this, I, have signed with a number of managers and management companies, throughout my career. And it's funny, even as I'm about to tell a story, I'm kind of thinking about Selena, right? So, if you guys know, Selena's kind of history, right? Her dad was representing her for a long time, and she even fired him, right? So back to the whole when family is working with you. But in any case, so, there were a number of managers that I've worked with and management companies. And, it's I have kind of a common complaint that I find with kind of independent artists who are really hustling, and it's that I'm doing way more than the manager is. Okay. And on the very last management team, I'll call it a team because it wasn't just one person, right? So they sold me on, they had like 10 people assigned to my project from this one company, right? So, and I got to actually see it in real time before we signed, which is something I advise to my clients for sure. And I go, before you sign a contract, get to know the person and kind of have a courtship, right? Before you get married, date the person for a little bit. So have that courtship and see them and see how projects go together. And so in any case, I kind of saw them in action and they were just busting their ass and, and by all accounts, I was super excited. I was like, holy shit, to have a multi-person team working on my behalf every day, that's like a dream come true. So I definitely did sign with this company. And a few months into it, I saw that there was just a lot of busy work, which is what I'd kind of seen in the beginning, right? So they're sending out emails, they're putting together press packages and doing all this busy work, but they didn't actually know what they were doing, right? So that was where the issue started to happen. And so then as they were not getting results over so many months, they were pulling back. But, as I was kind of talking to them, like, you guys are doing this wrong. Like, not that I'm the expert, right? At this point, I was still, pretty early in my career, but I go, this is probably what we should be doing instead. So, when it came time to kind of terminate, my basis for termination was just natural expiration of the agreement. So nonetheless, I took my own advice, right? This was prior to becoming an attorney, but I hired an attorney and I got an entertainment attorney. I paid her like $300 to draft a simple letter just to say, hey, nice working with you. We're going to terminate, adios. And it's funny because even that management company, they were kind of butthurt about it. Which, it is what it is. But like, you have to protect yourself. And a part of my peeve was that, at some point when they had pulled back and they had stopped really doing much of anything, they were still sitting back and collecting revenue that was coming in from my hard work. And so, I kind of found for my own project at this point that I loved the idea of having a team, right? And that's really important to me. But now I just pay people. And now there's a very clear line of communication on what we're doing and strategy and execution. And it's very ideal for me as an artist and something that I would definitely recommend to anyone else. I don't think just kind of, signing with someone and giving a portion of your revenue is always the best idea. And so sometimes just hiring contractors to kind of do stuff for you here and there and finding the best fit is really, it's like a magical thing. Okay, I have like a magical feeling about my my team and I love them so much, but it takes time. It definitely takes time to find the right people. And yes, and then of course, you write your press kit, you get an EPK. And, by the way, actually, yeah, I don't have it with me. I had one of my books. Get a management agreement. If you don't have it, back to the first case scenario. If you don't have a management agreement, please get one. I have a free template in my book, How to Keep Your Dukes Up in the Music Business. Oh, here my music producer comes. There it is. All right, so this is the book. Most management agreements will cost you like $500 to get from a law firm. It comes for free as part of this book. There's 8 contracts. There's like collaboration agreements, featured artist agreements, all kinds of things. Please stay protected. Make sure you have a contract, because then guess what? If you have a contract and the contract says we get to fire you after a year, you get to fire the manager after a year. So make sure you stay legally protected. All right, Brian in the chat on YouTube. Do you advise speaking to the artist the manager has represented before? Do you advise speaking to the artist the managers are okay? Do you mean as far as just checking out kind of the lay of the land, right? Absolutely. If you can get in touch with other artists that manager currently represents or represented at a different time, 100%. And that's great that that's kind of what you're thinking anyway. I had, clients who are about to sign with record labels do the exact same thing. They will go and stalk out the artist roster and reach out to those artists. And sometimes the feedback is, holy shit, run the other way. This is awful. That's really helpful feedback. 11-second Clipse. I love your live streams. You were late today. I appreciate you being here either way. You can get us on that recap later. And like I said, we are going to be doing a music video at the very end of the live stream. We kind of did that for the first time randomly last Friday or last show, which was just a lot of fun. So I'm excited. All right, so David, 4 weeks can seem like a long time. Proud of you, thank you. I'm assuming you're talking about the sugar. I'm a little behind on the comments here. All right, perfect. So with that being said, we're going to take a sippy, and then we're going to get into all of our newsy stuff. I'm kind of proud because we were recording yesterday, and I've been struggling a little bit with my voice. I've been a little crackly. I've been sucking on throat lozenges and tea and all that stuff, and we're doing great. But we're going to take a little sippy second, and we'll come back for our newsy segment in just a second. I'm Miss Krystle, aka the Redhead Attorney, and my law firm helps entertainers and content creators avoid falling off cliffs to their inevitable dooms via bad contracts and snaky business partners. I've always wanted to be a rock star. At age 4, I learned classical piano. At 10, I added cello and also started modeling. At 13, I started writing my own songs. At 16, I started college and also started competing in Miss America pageants to help pay for school tuition. I paid my way through college and with the help of scholarships was able to get out of school loan and debt free. I then became recording artist Miss Krystle and wrote as well as produced my first album, which then led to working with Grammy Award-winning producers, playing huge shows and signing music deals. I always wanted to know how to protect myself legally, so I decided to go to law school. From there, I launched my entertainment law firm and started a record label. In order to share everything I've learned, I wrote a book, rated 5 stars on Amazon, called How to Keep Your Dukes Up in the Music Business, and also launched an online course teaching record label owners everything they need to know about running a successful record label. There are 3 rules I attribute my success to. Number 1, be resilient. Regardless of what the world throws at you, always get back up and just keep going. Number 2, embrace your fear. Never let fear hold you back, because if you never take that chance on yourself, it will be the biggest regret of your life. Number 3, be patient. Anything great takes time, and a lot of it. Create a legit career the right way and always stay legally protected. That's all for now, and don't forget to come say hi on social media. Those moves on the green screen, though. I got a private message from that Orko. He also had a comment about that. You guys like my moves, okay? This was a little summarized version of my TEDx that we did. We haven't done the cartoon in a while, but when we were doing the cartoon a little more consistently, I was like, the TEDx is great. It's just, you got to sit there and really take it in. So that's why I wanted to have a little consolidated 1-minute version. I'm glad you guys like it, though. All right, so for our first newsy segment of the day, and then we're going to bring in that Orko, ACLU slams misguided Johnny Depp for refusing to pay $86,000 over Amber Heard subpoenas. They allegedly went through 7,500 documents before providing $2,000 worth of documents to Depp and are thus demanding $86K from the actor to cover the subpoena costs. All right, so ACLU, if you were like me and you were watching the whole trial and even the boring video deposition stuff, we heard testimony from ACLU, and the big issue at that point, and kind of where they were going with the questions, had to do with Amber Heard and the divorce settlement, because she had received $7 million as part of that divorce settlement, and had agreed and stated that she would be donating that to charities, right? So one of which was ACLU. So turns out she didn't, right? We heard that through the trial, and there was just kind of this back and forth with Camille Vasquez, and she was just saying, didn't you not donate the full 7 million? And then Amber was kind of pushing back, and she's like, well, I pledged it. And so she wouldn't actually just answer the question, which was kind of funny in the moment. But in any case, she didn't actually, donate the full 7 million. So that's kind of where these questions were coming from. But it turns out that Johnny Depp, as part of his case, he wanted to know, did Amber Heard, in fact, donate the full $7 million? And ACLU didn't want to disclose that. Legally, they probably didn't have an obligation to disclose that until they got the subpoena. Okay, so this is a nice little tactic that we have using the law to our advantage in these lawsuits. If someone who is a non-party to a case doesn't want to provide something that is relevant as evidence for that case, we can send them a subpoena, and we can say, via court order, you have to provide these documents, within 30 days, or you're going to get into a whole lot of trouble. So they had sent a number of subpoenas. And so what ACLU is alleging is that it took an outrageous amount of time. And so, and in fact, let me go to it specifically where they were talking about this. So they go, under New York law, we are allowed to get reimbursement for our expenses to answer subpoenas, which is true, right? So in New York, it basically just says you can seek, as a non-party, reasonable reimbursement for your reasonable expenses for the time to prepare these documents to respond. So just shy of $100,000. The question is that equivalent or reasonable to, a non-party providing documents? Now, obviously, they're alleging it was a whole lot of documents. I believe that's the case. But, Johnny Depp's attorneys are having trouble with the $86,000 bill. So the ACLU is known to have been reasonable for helping, or responsible for helping her to write her 2019 defamatory Washington Post. And then, my personal opinion, when I was watching the witness testimony from the director of ACLU, he seemed to be trying to kind of help Amber Heard out, which of course, to the extent that someone's donated 3.5 million with future hopes of donating more, I would assume that's probably what you'd want to do. But in any case, they are motioning the court now to say, hey, court, please reimburse our very expensive bill. And Johnny Depp's team is saying, hell no, this is way too much money. And so they're going to duke it out in court. And that's where we're at right now. All right, let's go back to the comments. Hello. David likes the cartoon. I'm so glad. Yeah, no, we got the cartoon right here. There she is. Now that Orko added the glasses because she didn't have the glasses in prior appearances. But, gotta have the glasses. All right, let's bring in that Orko. All right. Hello, my friend.
Hello. Shout out to the community. Thank you guys for being here. Make sure that you are hitting like and subscribe. We are broadcasting from Top Music Attorney on YouTube, and we are shooting it out to, I think, going out to LinkedIn and Facebook, a couple Facebook pages, YouTube. So you guys are all here. Make sure that you are sending your love, comments, and questions in the chat.
There we go. Thank you very much for that. All right. So our first, or I should say second news story, we're going to be discussing her. So she filed a lawsuit to be released from her label, and the label is MK Entertainment. And so she's suing MK Entertainment, and who is actually owned, I thought this was interesting, is owned by her longtime manager, Jeff Robinson. And, she is asking for the rights to her catalog. That's a different issue. But the core piece here is that she, signed in 2011 when she was 14.
14, like, and that's crazy. I mean, just to be like just attached from somebody at such a young age, and I guess that kind of goes into your whole conversation about when you're firing your management and stuff like that. And you even brought up Selena, I heard earlier, and you know how much love I have for Selena and her whole situation. And just when you're managed from such a young age, that's just got like starting from there. And then when you become an adult and you actually realize what's going on as you get older, your wisdom grows really fast in the industry. And so, yeah.
Yeah, so according to, and this is all happening in California. So according to the California Labor Code 2855, um, you know, uh, employment contracts, which is what H.E.R has with the record label, employment contracts can only go for up to 7 years. And then the employee has the right to terminate. There's a caveat, and this is where I think the record label is going to make their argument. But let's talk about H.E.R.'s claim first.
This
So
is in
she's
California,
saying,
you said specifically, right?
yes, specifically in California, pursuant to California labor law, and so she's claiming if I was signed in 2011, then pursuant to the term of the contract, because there's stuff in these contract guys when it comes to record label agreements where the contract term starts after the commercial release of like the first album, so it's not necessarily when they signed in 2011, but she's
Mm.
arguing that the termination would be in 2019. So she's like 7 years from when the employment officially started is a
Right.
date in 2019. So here we are in
Is that where the
2022.
is that where I mean, obviously it's a separate issue for her catalog, but that's where she's putting the cutoff for her catalog after that point, then I'm assuming.
Yeah, so she's asking that the court make the contract voidable after that 2019 date. And to say that, not only is it voidable, so I would assume, of course, that includes any catalog after that date, but also it's called disgorgement of profits. So she goes, hey, label, for all the money that you made illegally, I want all that money paid to me. So we're talking about, roughly 2.5, 3 years.
Mm.
So, but she's obviously a huge artist too. I was looking
Oh,
at her
she's
plays. What she got?
incredible.
A cool 11 million listeners, monthly listeners on Spotify right now.
No, she's not only an incredible singer, her music is all vibe. It's that slow R&B vibe that I'm just in love with, that whole like neo soul kind of sound. Um, and she's just and she's a really good guitar player too. Like, I have footage here of her. Um, she's singing. Uh, this is from 2018, but I have it later on. Like, I think she is this one. Oh, I might have grabbed the wrong clip. I have a clip. I had a clip of her where she is just like shredding on the guitar. This is from the 2022. I'll find that clip. But she's really good. Like, she's a really good like player, and I
So
really like her music a lot.
David is a good question, right? So we said she signed the contract when she was 14. Are you able to enter into a contract as a minor? All right. So again, this is pursuant to California law. But, for example, in New York and California, there are laws in place to make it very difficult for minors to void a contract when they become of age. And that's because, of course, we have kids who are actors, we have kids who are musicians, and we don't want to create a lot of scenarios where these contracts are being found unenforceable. So that's, the minor's right to work kind of thing. But there are jurisdictions where the courts require that even other, they'll say in their state, us as a court, we have to approve the contract before we're going to actually enforce it. Not quite as harsh in California, but you do need to have obviously a guardian, a parent sign, right? We're going to have a whole lot of
Right.
issue if it's a 14-year-old signing a contract without a parent because you have what's called capacity issues.
Well, and
But
then
that's
all
a great
those,
question.
and then just is because she is so long, so they have the regular labor laws. Is this also applying to like child labor laws? Because I know specifically they're really intense, and especially in the because California is a big entertainment industry hub,
Yep,
and for
exactly.
actors and stuff like that. um I would just think that it's a pretty interesting. I just wanted to show this just to say I wasn't fooling you. I mean, she is just like I really wish I could play audio on some of these streams, but I don't want to get demonetized. But like, and then she just throws off the guitar and just starts singing. Like, she's so good. I'm a fan. So
Yeah, don't
I hope
don't get us
I'm
a strike.
yeah, I'm rooting for
Well, yeah,
I
so
would
but
like.
let me go back. You were just kind of going into this. So,
Oh, yeah.
in most states, individuals can void contracts when they become of age, right? So there is this ability for a minor when they become 18-year-old. They have a certain period, depending on the state and the state statute. They have a period to terminate the contract and void it. But
Mm,
again, because we know that New York, California, these are states where we want to make sure that entertainers are protected, entertainment companies are protected, that we want to hire kids, because if that's the case, and all these kids are just voiding contracts, then why would they want to hire minors? But obviously you have to have consent, you have to have all kinds of things. So that was a really good question.
yeah, no, I mean, I think it's always tricky business when you're working with minors. I know that, it's all kinds of special considerations have to be taken into account. I know that when we have shot music videos, we had an Inevitable video and we had a minor on the set that was actually in the video.
And
And we
Angels in the Valley, we had two minors
Oh,
on
t
set for
Angels in
that.
the Valley. So, just making sure that, the parents are there, everybody knows what's going on, the proper, that they're taken care of first and all their stuff, so you're not holding them up and making them wait and just really having special considerations and no shenanigans around any, minors.
Yeah, so as of now, I've not read that she is seeking to void the contract based on a capacity issue, to say, I signed this, my parents were there. So because she's not making that argument by
Mm.
like negative inference, we can say obviously that there probably was a parent. But
She's
two
just saying
things
time
here.
limit. Is she just saying the
Yeah,
time limit? Yeah.
the
Okay.
California, that exactly, exactly. So Brian has a good question here. He goes, "What will the issue? What will be the issue if the label has not recouped if they gave her advances?" Right. So in standard record label agreements, the record label gives advances, whether those are marketing funds, your studio recording funds, and then what comes back from the music goes to repay the label first before anyone gets paid. Right, before her is going to get paid. And so often in these record label agreements, what happens is that it will say that the agreement will automatically continue extending until they've recouped. So that goes back again to the timeline and how the language was drafted. Because if it just says the contract keeps extending, that's one thing. If it says they're going to continue collecting revenues from the artist's career until they recoup, that's a different kind of more
Right.
creative way for them to, even if the contract is found void after 2019. So that's number one. Number two, let's actually take a look at the state statute, and I'm gonna and let's see if this would be the basis for the record label to say no,
No.
the argument is invalid. So here we go. Let me highlight this. I know it's a
Nice.
little small.
I love that. I love it when you pull
All
up
right,
on the
so
screen.
so the first part of the statute, this is where it talks about, so any contract otherwise valid to perform or render services of a special, unique, unusual, extraordinary, or intellectual character which gives its peculiar value and the loss of which cannot be reasonably or adequately compensated in damages, and action at law may none or nevertheless be enforced against the person contracting to render the services for a term not to exceed 7 years from
I
the
mean,
commencement of services. Okay, so that's her argument.
being a lawyer should be an Olympic sport. Like as you're reading these phrases, and I know that you understand what all of them mean, you're just like doing backflips and cartwheels and somersaults. Like,
I'm here to explain it. So then the last piece right here, if the employee voluntarily continues to serve under that contract beyond the time, the contract may be referred to as affording a presumptive measure of the compensation. All right. So basically, the record label, I believe, will come back and argue that she voluntarily decided to stay in the contract, and she did that because
mm,
she kept producing music, she kept doing different projects with them, and so they'll say you voluntarily did this, you had a benefit because we worked our asses off and we promoted, and look at you and your 11 million plays per month on Spotify.
what do you think about that?
I think that's obviously the argument that they're going to make. And
Or
I think
what do you
that
think about that? What do you think about that argument? The now that you're an adult kind of thing. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But
her,
but
her go
but
ahead.
if the law, I would just, but I would imagine none of that really matters. If the law is written that that's the time and that's when it's done, then that's when it's done. Like,
Right.
right? Like I'm always looking for that. I'm always looking for that language. What you say, or in these articles and stuff that just kind of seals the deal, that just kind of just like, well, that's it. Like, if that's the law, then that's the law, isn't it? Like, why are we having all these conversations? Like, you could say
Yeah,
they
and
disregarded
so
the
where
law.
the attorneys are going to get into the weeds is, did she need to know about it, right? So oftentimes when people are like, I didn't know that there was a 7 year and then I could get out of it, right? So most of the time that doesn't fly. I didn't know that speeding was,
Oh man.
illegal. There, but it's not applicable to everything. Sometimes there is notice, and there might be, a required notice that the employer is supposed to send. There's other stuff, but this is where you get into the weeds if you're litigating these cases.
Cool.
All
No, that's
right,
interesting
so
though.
let's move it on to the next story. Let's go to the chat really fast. CJ agrees with you. That's why we love attorneys. Legal language is such a different
It's
world.
crazy. It's crazy. And like, I mean, just, sometimes I'll watch her when she is typing up, just responses or response letters to whatever your complaints or complaint letters or stuff. She types so fast and she's so smart. Like, it's pretty crazy. Like, so when she's actually flexing some of this stuff on the screen, I'm always just like in awe of it. I think it's so awesome.
Oh, aren't you, sweetie?
Yeah.
Sweetie.
Yeah,
All
sweetie.
right, you ready? You ready for that next segment?
Let's do it.
All right, Hailey Bieber has a new skincare line, and she is being sued by the same name company, and they're saying you stole our name. All right, so I think the update. So this was reported by TMZ, and they have an update. And they go, so Hailey's brand tells us that she owns the trademark for skincare. There's something interesting in that statement that we'll talk about. But anyway, so the name is RHODE, RHOD, and that's the middle name for Hailey, but it's the name of this company that sells clothes. And from what I found, because you guys know I have to go that extra mile, I'm going to find the actual registrations. We're going to look at it together. This company, has the trademark in association with a number of things, including clothing. But the basis of this is they're saying, so, we have been around for a while. We have our trademark for RHODE. And so now Hailey's, announced through and including through her very famous boyfriends, Justin Bieber's, was it
Husband.
hundreds of millions of followers on Instagram, about her skincare line, and it's causing confusion. Guys, that's a real thing. If that Orko has his trademark and now I start using that Orko, it's not an automatic. He doesn't get to stop everyone in the whole
Mm-mm.
world from using that Orko, but he, typically a good claim is going to be it's confusingly similar if I'm a musician or I'm a record label producer or I'm a this and that saying I'm that Orko.
No, absolutely. And the thing of it is, it sounds like this doesn't seem as cut and dry as the other one that I think we're going to talk about later, to me. And because clothing and like skincare products, like, they are very different, but a lot of times those companies merge their products. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it becomes, they do all the kind of the same thing. So Hailey Bieber, Justin Bieber's wife, says that she just owns the skincare stuff, though, right? She doesn't own clothing, and so are the clothing people coming back and saying that we own clothing, but we don't own skincare?
Yeah, guys, and the way that it works is that, it's okay. You can have brands that have the same name as long as you're doing different things, right? So there can be a Miss Krystle, right? So I do music and live performances and I sell clothing and this and that, all under the brand of my Miss Krystle, which is what my registrations are for. But then
Right.
there can also be a Miss Krystle that maybe, sells makeup, right? That's not what I do. The issue though can be if two brands that have the same name start to cross-pollinate the fan base and people get confused, that's where we're going to start having problems. And that is what the clothing company is alleging. They're saying, Hailey, we already have issues of fans tagging us and accidentally actually tagging you.
Right.
So because there's actual confusion happening, that's why they're saying you need to basically cease and desist. And going back to that,
Do you think they'll
that
ever be able to copyright like a hashtag? So like when these people like get movements, do you think there'll ever be a case of like trying to, because that's actually a great point, because if you're trying to use the same hashtags or whatever, I mean, I guess you're getting tagged in your own unique, profile social media pages, but that's interesting. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, so then here, guys, look at this, right? So I pulled the actual trademark registrations. I made these a little big. So right here, so this one is class 3. So in class 3, we have beauty and wellness products, and it goes into a long list of colognes and shaving and bath stuff and fizzies and
Right.
flakes. You know, what people do to actually take care of themselves, I guess. But this is in class 3. And this is the registration filed by Hailey. And this is 1B, so it means that she filed, but she has not actually, or at the time that she filed in December of 2020, she wasn't actually using it yet. So we can do two ways, right? When we file trademarks, we can file, we tell the trademark office, hey, I'm not using it yet, but I want to get it, and I'm gonna start using it. Or we can file and we say, hey, I'm already using it, and I should be the only one using it. That's two ways to do it. So when she filed, at the time, she wasn't actually using it. So that's why in the TMZ update, where it's like Hailey's representative is reporting that she owns the trademark, well, she hasn't actually gotten the registration yet. It's still showing as a 1B application. So just, a little nuance there. And then we look at the registration, right, for again, RHODE. And this is the one where we not only have an actual trademark in the realm of clothing, right? So
Mm,
we have, leather. So we're in class 18, class 25. That's the main clothing category. We have other stuff here. We have market services in class 35. We
right.
have recorded material, right? So this is the class we use for like music a lot, audio and visual. Using this trademark in
For a
quite a
lot.
few ways outside of just clothing, but they're saying the biggest issue is as relates to our clothing company.
So I guess my question would be then, wouldn't you argue if I was, if I was the original, the clothing road, um, wouldn't I be able to argue there's no way you didn't know about my trademark? You're telling me Hailey Bieber, who knows, who is has that's around just nothing but people that do their own startups and start their own clothing lines and makeup companies, that you didn't look into going, hey, well, I'm doing this, I might as well do road clothing too, and then see that somebody else had that. Like she was, I argue that she was well, or her attorney was, because she has an amazing team. There's no way between her and Biebs, they don't have a killer team of attorneys that to help her with this kind of stuff. And so they were aware of that other company, and I think they're like, oh no, we're fine, we'll just do skincare, we just won't do clothing, and thought they were doing fine. But I don't know. There's no way. There's no way that they didn't look up clothing. Why would then she's not a very smart entrepreneur if she's not trying to make a cloth like shirts and sweat jumper suits out of her company if it takes off, or not even plan for that. Because like you said, the other company owned all those other ones because they were planning for the future.
Yeah, and actually, you're required to do these searches ahead of time. And so when you file your application, before you sign, it says that you make declaration under penalty of perjury, right? We will fine you $25,000. We will throw your ass in jail. We will do all these things if you lie. And so it says that you believe you are the sole person to own this trademark as it relates to your goods. So to your point, did they do a
But
search? And this is what comes up when there are lawsuits. What searches did you do?
it's like, like in Seinfeld, where George Costanza goes, "It's not a lie if you believe it."
All right, so last one here, Jen. Does the clothing company have to include makeup, skincare with their line just to cover themselves? If they didn't, is Hailey okay? Yeah, so the problem here is just that there's some crossover and actual confusion that's happening in the market. So even though we do have technically different classes, if you're in different classes and different marketplaces, you're usually okay to have the same trademark as another company, but there seems to be actual crossover happening. So we'll be following this. And let me make a correction. I think I referenced Hailey and Justin as like boyfriend and girlfriend or something. They're married, hence the Hailey Bieber. So
Yeah, I tried to drop that,
whoopsies.
Justin Bieber's wife.
My bad, my bad. All right, so let's see. Let's move on and let's do a quick one on this guy. Um, so federal judge rules. We're talking about Blizzard, and I wanted to talk about Dairy Queen. All right, so at the beginning of today's live stream, we talked all about sugar, and I'm off of the sugar, but there's nothing wrong with talking about sweet treats, right? All right, so I'm gonna do a quick refresh, and you get that overlay. I'll be right back. All right, here we go. Going back to the chat. Uh-oh, I think I know where the blizzard is going. All right, so federal judge rules W. Mason's use of blizzard, right? So the trademark blizzard doesn't infringe on Dairy Queen's trademark. DQ has an issue with office suppliers labeling their spring water with blizzard, but the court unfortunately did not rule in their favor. So in the same kind of, we're talking now about trademarks. So you have a different company who is selling water bottles with blizzard on it, and so Dairy Queen is saying this is confusingly I guess similar. Then we'll talk about kind of where that's coming from. Not really, but just this is going to cause consumer confusion. We don't want them doing it. Court, please stop them. And
Yeah.
they lost. We're going to talk about why.
Yeah, no, I mean, when I first read this article, I thought it was just pretty funny, and then as we're just discussing the Hailey Bieber, problem right now, uh, it made me think of why Dairy Queen wouldn't have gotten Blizzard bottled water. They sell bottled water in their Dairy Queens. Why wouldn't they have branded Blizzard Dairy Queen water? I don't know, that I just that's where my brain is going right now. But I mean, no one's going to confuse a Blizzard ice cream with Blizzard water unless it's the same font, unless it has like the ice cream, or the melting ice caps on the word and all that stuff that the Blizzard trademark logo to be. I can't imagine.
That's funny. Okay, so obviously the
I
federal
love a
judge,
Blizzard.
I know. Let's talk about it for a second because this is like bringing up memories, right? So I think the last time I just kind of swung through a Dairy Queen was when I was a stylist, so I worked in a salon. So I must have
Mm,
been probably 18, and I remember I was swinging through. I was getting a hamburger.
mm.
And what was my favorite? They had like a cookie dough, the cookie dough blizzard. Did you ever that one?
Mm. Yeah, I'm not really much into cookie dough, but I do know about the hamburger situation. I used to work at in Arizona. I used to work at Paradise Valley Mall. I worked at Pacific Sun or Pac Sun, and there was a Dairy Queen that was right across from my store, and I would go there every morning for breakfast because when you'd get there first thing in the morning, they'd be already fired up the grill and stuff like that. So I could get a hamburger or cheeseburger like first thing in the morning, and I remember getting those. But my favorite blizzards are banana split blizzards. Those are with the pineapple and the banana and the strawberry I love blizzards, but I can't have any more blizzards right now. So
Oh, what? Why not?
I can't have any more blizzards right now. Audience, this is an exclusive. I have not told this to really anybody, but I am pre-diabetic. Yes, that's right. I have too much sugar. My doctor said I am pre-diabetic. Listen, I'm a thin guy, but I like my sweets. And I gotta calm
A
them
little
down.
too much, a little too much, a little too much.
So I have not completely, yeah, actually, pretty much completely cut out sugar. I really don't eat any sugar. I'm looking at the boxes. Anything over a gram of sugar, that's I gotta limit it. I'm
Well, and you
limiting
also
my
just
sodium.
realized you started to
Oh
realize,
man,
just looking on, like, your teas and just how much sugar you
It-
were consuming every day.
so yeah, no, my intake is crazy. So I knew that I might have some problems because I had gained a little bit of weight because I got these I think they're like Tazao teas or whatever. They're these peach teas. And I never look at the back of stuff, but it's like it's pretty much all sugar. And I drink though, like if I tell you every
Like
time I go to the store,
water.
like water, I drink them like crazy. I'm not supposed to be having late night ice cream. I was having late night ice cream. I may or may not have had a couple of root beer floats. My intake has been, when I go to the store by myself and I'm not being monitored, I might slip in an extra donut and hide it in the cabinet before anybody else sees me bring it in from the car. And then I might be snacking on that when they go upstairs to go feed the cats, and then I just pull out my donut real quick and eat it real fast, and then I shove it back in the thing. I got a problem. I got a sugar
Yeah.
problem. We have a song called Sugar, that we have on,
Mhm.
the Miss Krystle, music, channel, and let me tell you, it has never been so applicable as it is now. So I'm off the sugar. I'm done. And my sodium.
We're very proud of you.
Oh, I've been killing it too. I've been not even just being done with that. Like I've been going to the gym regularly. I'm on that treadmill regularly. Like, I got water now. That's all I'm drinking. I don't have any sugary drinks whatsoever. I was doing tea for a while, just plain unsweetened tea. But I was just like, if I'm just gonna do plain tea, I'm just gonna do water. Like, water's fine. I like water. It's good, but it's very. I haven't even had my first cheat meal yet, so I've been doing this for like a couple of weeks now, and it's not just sugar; it's sugar and it's salt. So, yeah, so I haven't had my first cheat meal. I was supposed to, and every time I'm supposed to go to In and Out for my cheat meal, that's usually my big cheat meal. Well, I've been really wanting some like pizza, but those carbs, they're no good. They're no good for
No,
me. I
so
want the crust.
we've been talking about it as far as, as getting on a new lifestyle program and still giving yourself some allowances, right? But going back to even what I said at the beginning of the live stream, right? So that 5% rule, going a little bit harder and cleaning up
Mm.
your diet. And even for me, right, as healthy as I thought I was, the amount of sugar that I was consuming on a daily basis was pretty crazy. But anyway, you guys are so sweet. Do you see all the nice comments saying
Yeah, no, I
please
really
keep
appreciate
your
it.
shit together?
It has been a little bit difficult with my cravings, but I have been, I've had plenty of opportunities to take my cheat days. I'm not taking them because I'm just like, I got to take my health seriously. You know what I mean? It's something that I never thought that I would hear that I have pre-diabetes. And it just makes me think of just because I'm sorry, you mentioned earlier how, I've been looking at labels, and it's really the first time I've really ever been looking at labels at all because, aside from just the ingredients, I mean, I'm looking at this, how much sodium, how much sugar. And then I'm thinking about, like, back in the day when I would clean swimming pools and I was drinking like two 44-ounce sodas a day and then coming home and having more soda from 2-liter bottles. And that's not even just including all the sugary stuff that I would get when I get candy, because I didn't look at
Yeah.
it. Like, I'm a skinny guy. I go by the way that I look. I don't go by, what I'm actually consuming. Um, but I got to tell you, when I told you that, you said, some of the symptoms that come from it, and you were asking me some of the symptoms, I was like, you were saying vision gets blurry. And I got to tell you, I was just chalking it up to I'm in front of a lot of screens. And yeah, my vision gets a little blurry when I'm on screens. But it was getting really bad there for a little bit when I'd be staring. Like, I could go like an hour and I'd be donezo. And I will say, since I cleaned up my act, and I'm, doing what I'm supposed to be doing and exercising regularly, I have not experienced it since I got the news of this. And I've lost about 7 pounds already. So
Yeah, and it's only been like 2.5 weeks. So no, he's
yeah,
going hard. He's going very hard on
I'm
his
taking
diet
it very
because
seriously. I don't want to
when it comes
die. I
to
don't want to die. Like,
well, it's not just
and
that, guys, but it's like long term how sugar can impact your brain, right? So, early onset Alzheimer's, things, cognitive issues start very early. They start in your 30s, they start in your 40s, and sugar is a huge reason that we have a lot of these issues. So,
I'm very
I'm happy you're on
lucky.
a new path.
I'm very lucky too that I have that and I'm giving all of this credit. I'm giving to Miss Krystle, entertainment attorney, recording artist, researcher extraordinaire, super supportive, caring person for my health. She's the one that really convinced me to go get my blood work done and just, taking a look. And I'm just like, I feel good. You know what I mean? Like, normally, I mean, I'm a little tired, but I just think that's, everyone got a little tired during COVID and being locked in. And honestly, like, I'm working, I'm producing music, I'm editing content, we're shooting stuff, we're doing all kinds of stuff. Like, you know, my lifestyle is different. But I'm just so grateful that I checked it early, because if I did not see that I had found out that I had pre-diabetes, I would have just kept on the way that I'm doing with no change. And then I would have found out that I did have diabetes. And then I'm done with sugar, or I got to start taking shots. Like, now, because it's pre-diabetes, I can reverse it. I got to get on track for like, like 6 months and just do my thing. And I'll have a lifestyle change. I didn't need to be eating that way anyway. I knew better. I knew when I was doing it that it was wrong. That's why I'm hiding it from her. So, you know, uh, yeah, so I'm just grateful. And I just would, if anybody's watching is taking anything from this, go get your blood work done. Just set up an appointment and just get it done and just check your stuff. I would have never thought. And, my lifestyle could be really dangerous, and really unpleasant and embarrassing. So I'd rather just clean up my act to a point where I can have legitimately a decent cheat meal, making substitutions. And my taste buds have already changed. I've already kind of gotten used to not having the stuff,
The
and that's
more
why it's
bland diet, and I think
yeah.
that's important. It's like
eh,
you could not stand a
no, it's
bland piece of
crazy.
chicken and
It's crazy, especially because of how hard I go on the sugar, and I've just done a complete 180, like a complete 180, and it was really kinda hard, but, like, I know I got these cheat days that I'm allotted, that I'm allowing myself because I gotta live, but I haven't taken them yet. I will probably eventually because the pull is strong, but at the same point, I wanna see how long I can go, like, I
Mhm.
do so many things, and really, if I'm thinking about 6 months, what's 6 months out of my life? Like, really? Like, I think about, like, just all the time I wasted just in COVID. You know what I mean? Like, that was, like, 2
Yeah.
years, and I'm talking about 6 months of getting my health right. I'm gonna be in the best shape I've ever been in my life because I'm being consistent, and it's like, I know that I'm keeping myself honest because I can't hide my sugar from her because then I'm lying to myself. I don't wanna get insulin shots. That just sounds like it would suck. So,
I like
again,
how he
just
keeps
please.
being like, keeps talking about hiding things from me and
Oh, no, listen, I'm being dead. Like, the camera does something to me when we're on these live streams. Like, I just confess, like, she has no idea that I'm doing this. I'm probably, after we shut this down, I'm gonna have a
Mm-mm-mm.
conversation. She's keeping it all, like, calm and
We're gonna we're
collected
gonna
because 'cause we're
we're
on
gonna have
air.
we're gonna have a little chitty chat.
But it's
Brian
honest, but it's
says
honest.
Brian says one of his best friends passed too young from hiding her issues with diabetes. Yeah, I mean, and also just we have a tendency to kind of bury our heads in the sand, right? So that's goes back to this whole like, how do we change our mindset? How do we push now, right? Push through the discomfort. Who the hell wants to get on a treadmill every day?
Right,
Who the hell wants to be in like a calorie deficit because they're trying to reverse their pre-diabetes and to get all the sugar out of your blood and to clean up? I mean, it's a painful process, but if you have the right motivator, obviously that helps, but it's just you, right? You're the
right.
one that has to make that decision and get on the treadmill and just be like, it doesn't matter how shitty I feel. I'm
Well,
gonna
you're
go
just
fucking do it.
shortchanging yourself. You're shortchanging yourself. Like, you can't lie to yourself. Like, you're the one that, you could tell me till you're blue in the face that I need to, get on the treadmill. I need to take away the sugar. I don't need to add any salt to anything. Everything is plenty salted. And I realize in this journey that, I've just been like a baby. Like, I'm just like, I want that. Like, I don't really need it because like I said, I know when I'm doing wrong. I know I don't need this food. It's not that serious. Like, and honestly, since I've got to this point, I've been able to just, deal with it, and it becomes easier. So, I mean, check in with me in a couple of weeks, but right now I'm still on
I
path because
know.
I have to be. I don't have a choice.
We told the audience, so now we have to actually check in. All right. So on a last note, David had type 2, got healed around February of this year. Congratulations.
That's great.
Lost enough weight to reverse it. Plus prayer helped. Oh, very, very amazing. Glad to have you here. All right.
Absolutely.
So in our final kind of wrap up segment, you have a couple of things from the weekend. Let's jump into that.
Yeah, I'm just going real quick on this. My favorite, because I got the Star Trek t-shirt on right now. My favorite production group, the Neptunes, Pharrell Williams, Chad Hugo, were just inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. They've written everybody from like Jay-Z, Britney Spears, Madonna, no doubt. I mean, honestly, like, you name it, Snoop Dogg, like, honestly, you name it, they've worked with them and written songs for them, and I just love seeing them get their shine on. And and then over the weekend, big moment for me. We had a Clipse reunion, something in the Water Festival in Washington D.C. Pharrell Williams, big festival. It was broadcast over on Amazon and for 3 days, and I watched pretty much the whole thing as much as I possibly could. I was glued to my seat. Is like every act that I wanted to see. I saw Lucky Day. I saw Pharrell, Justin Timberlake's Clipse, Ti. It was such an incredible lineup. Tiana Taylor, such an incredible show. And I just let me pull this up so you can just kind of see some of the fun that happened.
Yeah, you got a nice little recap there.
Got a little video here. So this is just so you could see Nori was there. Pharrell was in front of the Capitol building. Yeah, Ti was rep like it. It was such a good show and a good vibe. They did have a few issues that I mean, I guess we could touch on, but I just really love the fact that Clipse got reunited. Pusha T, No Malice, big day for me. They're one of my favorite rap groups like ever, and it was just such a blast to watch. And there's Pharrell, and that's the crowd right there on Independence
Woo-hoo!
Avenue. Now they had
Dang.
oversold on these tickets, and they turned like I think like 1,000 people away from the gates because they were just so packed and people were like leaving. It wasn't like an Astro World situation, but I will say that I saw video footage of people that were kind of jumping over fences. But I will say that the artist, every single set that I saw, anytime anybody looked like they needed water, anybody needed any kind of help in any way, got knocked down, they stopped the show immediately. You
Yeah.
know, I would try to find. There's Tiana Taylor. Tiana Taylor killed her set.
No, I was commenting on how
She
unbelievably
brought her
fit she
daughter out
is.
to sing.
Yeah, she's got her fit and her kid on the stage.
Pharrell came out with Tyler, did Cash and Cash Out with 21 Savage. 21 Savage kind of forgot his words to the song. There's Tyler. I mean, everybody was bringing Tyler up. Usher, everybody was bringing Tyler or Pharrell up to just give him his flowers, and just was Pusha T had bags of cocaine behind him. It was
or
amazing.
stage props, which look
Stage
like bags of
props, but
coke.
I mean,
Let's be clear.
such a legendary set that Pusha T gave. But everybody was really concerned with safety. Pharrell was,
Yeah.
making special appearances all throughout the show, and the art. He was just making sure everybody was okay. There was a couple instances though where look they did call for like an EMT, but it wasn't like a Astral World situation. But a lot of people were getting kind of claustrophobic and having a hard time.
The different thing though that happened that we made a note of was we've covered the Astro World Festival tragedy, right? Travis Scott. And the thing that didn't happen at Travis's performance is that, when the emergency responders were going into the audience, there obviously wasn't really that moment of Travis like stopping the show. Hey, thumbs up. Is everything okay? That didn't happen. But at this show, there was a stopping of the show. And not only was the hey, give me a
Constantly.
thumbs up, but it was a hey, EMT, give me a thumbs up. I actually want to hear from the responders
Yes,
that
no,
everything is okay.
that was amazing when we saw that happening because just that's so smart. Because a lot of times in crowds they'll go, hey, is everybody okay, and the guy's looking at the crowd and people are just excited for the show to go, so go, yeah, everything's awesome. They're not really understanding what's going on. So I think waiting till you have an assigned professional to assess the situation to
Yeah.
give you that thumbs up, even if it takes another extra 2 minutes, that's fine. Some of these sets were stopped for like 3-4 minutes to make sure that some people got water. Like it was, they really were concerned because they did oversell this event. So um they did not realize how many people were going to be super excited. I don't know how this was my lineup of the year.
Yeah.
But they had so many people, and the other disappointing kind of things. I was really looking forward to seeing Q-Tip and SZA. They did not play. They did not play, and I was pretty bummed out about that because I was really looking forward to seeing Q-Tip from Tribe Called Quest, which is my favorite hip hop group of all time. And then yeah, it was just a really crazy show. But the Pharrell and Friends event, where he had Justin Timberlake, where he had Nori, and Ti did a set in there. I thought Ti set was a little long, if I'm being honest, because I always got to keep it real with everybody. I don't even mind Ti, but Ti he did his set in the middle of Pharrell's set. Now he was supposed to play the night
Right.
before,
Right.
but something happened, and I guess his set got cut because he was supposed to play on Friday, but he ended up playing on Pharrell's set on Saturday. He played
Which
a
you didn't
lengthy set.
like that Orko was like yelling and he's like, "What is this? I love this guy, but no."
No, I have no problem. He just didn't do any Neptunes produced songs, so
Right.
it wasn't in the spirit of what was going on. But I think they just wanted to make sure that people saw Ti, so Pharrell was being generous and giving him that moment. But super cool. One of my favorite things to happen. Congratulations to Pharrell Williams. Congratulations to the Neptunes on getting into
100%.
Songwriters Hall of Fame. Star Trek forever. And yeah, that's what I got.
Thank you, that Orko. And look, there was a question. I want to make sure I go back to it. Are there two chats? Actually, there are multiple chats
There are
kind of going
multiple
in
chats.
right now. So there's a lot of comments coming in through multiple platforms. So that's why sometimes you'll
So that's a
see.
perfect opportunity to put this up and let you guys know. Please join our community on Top Music Attorney YouTube channel. That is our main hub, main resource. We do broadcast these lives out to Facebook and LinkedIn, but pretty soon we're going to be stopping that and just having it on YouTube. That's where we want you to go. It's the most important place for you to get the information, where we drop special videos, where you're going to get more information about these new artist reactions that we have coming up. So
Yeah.
it's just really exciting. These artist reviews and what do you call them? Consultations. Maybe I'll change it to saying consultations, because that's what it's more
Yeah,
of is.
I
Like, we're
don't know.
not,
I think I like the artist reviews. We'll do that for now. We'll do that for now.
but I'm really excited getting to know what the artists in our community are working on, and really, and just really helping you guys and catering to what you need. Because a lot of times me and Miss Krystle were talking about how it's just artists just need sometimes a few tweaks. If they just knew this one thing, like, I can't even tell you, before I started producing music with Miss Krystle, I had a whole other rock career. Like, I had a whole other life career. Like, I might as well be a whole other person compared to what I was doing for many, many years. And if I just knew a tenth of what I learned from being around Miss Krystle, from producing with her, from just doing these shows and everything like that, like, I can't even tell you how much further I would have been. Like, it feels like it's a waste of time doing music if you do not know these things. So to be able to help artists and just seeing where the gaps are, I can't wait to help them.
Thank you for joining us, that Orko. All right, guys. So that Orko is gonna go get set up for the music video that we're gonna run at the tail end of this.
Happy
So
birthday,
again,
Brian Wilson.
Brian Wilson turned 80 yesterday. So, in honor of that, of course, we're going to do our Beach Boys cover song, which is God Only Knows, and produced by none other than Mr. That Orko himself. But before we get to that, make sure you do all the YouTubey things, like, subscribe, come over to Top Music Attorney, and follow on social media. I know some of you are kind of on both platforms now. We have Top Music Attorney, and then, of course, Miss Krystle. And it's been really cool to kind of get to know you guys that are coming on these lives. I really appreciate you guys being here. It makes a lot of fun for us. Please plug your book. Brian, a big heart for you. All right. So I mentioned it earlier when we were talking about the management agreement. There's 8 contracts in here. So this book is like, hey, this is how you survive as an independent artist, how you do it, how you kick ass, be a business, be a record label, do all your stuff. But the best thing about this book is the free contracts, which are, if you get them from law offices, they're very expensive and they come for free. So I love your guys' faces very much. We're going to go through and watch that music video, but thank you for being here. And that Orko, you can start it whenever you're ready.
I may not always love you, as long as there are stars above you. You'll never need to doubt it. I'll make you so sure